Photography, which means writing with light, has the word light inherent in it. That is to say, without light you cannot take a picture. The idea is no light, no picture. The light is the one which makes a picture on the film or on the CCD, and it has its own characteristics which can at any point of time affect the final product. Light, as we know, keeps varying throughout the day. The effects of this can be seen during the day, during the season. Say for example, in the month of say summers, the light is very strong, even harsh, while in the months of winters it is very pleasant, it is very warm. While on the other hand, during monsoon the light can be very flat, it can be overcast and leave no shadows, and therefore one has to be careful as far as the play of light is concerned. Camera records these effects faithfully, and it is up to the cameraman to study and to make the best possible use of this. Therefore, the study of light by the cameraman is absolutely essential. Primarily, there are two sources of light. One, the natural source, and the other is artificial source. Let us first see natural light sources. First of all, it is the sun, which is available to us throughout the day. Then we have stars. Some stars are very bright. Sun itself is a star. And besides that, there are another 100 or so stars which are available to us, which provide light. Next thing is that there are terrestrial bodies like Milky Ways, which also produce light, but we don't notice them. Similarly, moon by itself is a source of light. Yet another source of light which we normally use as subject is lightning. Lightning by itself is a beautiful subject, and when it shines, the entire area gets lighted up and one can take beautiful pictures. Let us now see the artificial sources of light. The first one in the series is the combustion-based light sources. Lamps on the walls, in the corners, on the ceiling, once upon a time made a beautiful artistic and decorative pieces besides giving light. In these lights, the main oil used was whale oil, but nowadays these pieces have lost their value and can be found in the beautiful settings in the drawing room or at some other places. Argon lamps or the circular lamps, these lamps had a round wick and they were very beautifully made and they were decorative, at the same time very useful. Today they can be seen in the movies of the olden days as a piece of antiques or something like that. Next we have is the argon flash, which is very bright and for a very brief moment. That is all. It doesn't do anything else. It can be used for flash purposes. Gas lamps have been used in many ways. They can be used for illuminating buildings, lighthouses, and even cars and motorbikes, their headlights. Even the miners and the hunters have been using this light to light up their area of operation. Butter lamps. These lamps were used by the Buddhists in their monasteries and houses. In this, yak butter was used to light up the wick. However, today they are using the normal oil available in the market. Candles, they need no introduction. Solid wax with a wick fitted inside. These are most decorative pieces today, and they are also very useful, and when they light it up, they create a beautiful atmosphere, a mood, a romantic mood, and ideal for a candlelight dinner. Pyrotechnics, these were initially used by the army to light up the enemy area so that they could fire upon them. But today they are being used all over for the sports events, for any function. Today pyrotechnics have played a very important role. They themselves are a subject to shoot. They are so beautifully managed and beautifully displayed all over the world. Gas lighting using mantles. These are the famous old time gas lights used for lighting up the house and even the business places. These were also used during the marriage processions and things like that. Very useful, and the amount of light that they generate is for a very long time, and it is white light which is pure, and the mantles last very long. Kerosene lamps, They also need no introduction, but today they have found a place in the corner somewhere in a house. Next we come to lanterns. Lanterns were always beautiful and they're scientifically constructed using kerosene oil. These lanterns had and still have a quality of beauty. Today they are used as decorative pieces in the restaurants, in the hotels. Torches. This is another source of light and a very useful source. With this, the light produced can be very creative and very strong. We'll now have a look at the sources which are electricity based. Electric bulbs, most commonly used, tungsten bulbs need no introduction. They are still in great demand and great use. Next we have the studio lights or the flashlights. These lights are used under controlled conditions and they are intensity oriented. One can control the intensity of these lights and use them as per the requirement. We now have halogen lamps which also need no introduction. You must have seen them during weddings, during any function. These are very useful. They help in doing photography when you do not have a flashlight available to you. Compact fluorescent lamps. This is the latest introduction in the lighting system. These lights are very expensive, they are very bright and at the same time they are very economical. The trend is catching on to use them and they can be used including for photography. Carbon arc. This is the light source which was used in the cinema hall for projection purposes as it gave natural light. And the last we have is the mercury and sodium vapors lights which you must have seen in the streets, in the roads and avenues, which not only look beautiful but have a certain amount of charm in them. Let us now see the properties of light. Basically, there are three properties of light. One, direction. Second, intensity. And lastly, the quality of light. We will see each one of them one by one. Let us take the direction of light first. Direction of light is related to our observation in the nature. When the sun rises in the morning, we see the shadows becoming longer, and as the sun goes up, the shadows start becoming shorter, and at noon time the shadow is the shortest. But as the light goes down further, again the shadows become longer, and again in the evening the shadows are the longest. Now this has the greatest impact on photography. It creates mood, it also creates ambience. Light coming from the sides creates soft shadows, while the light coming from top creates hard shadows below the nose, below the eyes, and it is very difficult to control them. While the best time to shoot is when the sun is over your left shoulder or the right shoulder, because at this point the details are maximum, the tones are maximum. It is normally said that the best time to shoot is before 10 in the morning and after 2 in the afternoon till dusk, because the shadows are soft and the lighting is good. But in my opinion, even between 10 and 2 p.m. one can take good pictures. For example, architecture, it comes out beautifully as far as details are concerned. Not only that, we have strobes, we have studio lights, we have the reflectors, whereby we can use these effectively and creatively and get good pictures at this time of the day also. Next we see is the intensity of light. It is a very relative term. A light source may look negligible in front of a sunlight, but take the case of a lamp which is useless in front of sunlight, but at night when you use it in the room or elsewhere, the amount of light it creates is mind-boggling. There are two effects or aspects of this kind of light. First is the technical aspect, the other is the creative aspect. The intensity of light has to be so much that the aperture and the shutter speed can be used properly, while the creative aspects depend upon the cameraman, upon the photographer, how he wants to use them, whether he wants to use them for shadows or he wants to use them for highlights, it is up to him. Intensity of light is controllable. Human eye sees what it wants to see, but the camera sees whatever is there in front of it. It does not distinguish between a beautiful girl or a not so handsome boy. The other thing to note is that flashlight can be reduced, it can be increased, it can be controlled by the various controls available to us. Similarly, we have strobes, we have other areas where we can control the light. We also have the aperture, which can be reduced or increased. We also have the shutter speed, which can be reduced or increased, and we also have the ISO, which can also be modified depending upon the effect that we want. We will now see another important factor, which is known as quality of light. Quality of light creates mood, it creates the entire impact, it shows the capability of the photographer. For example, we know Mr. V. Murthy, who has just been awarded the Asa Phalke Award, was known only for his creative lighting. He used the quality of light for his films like Pyasa. Therefore, understanding of this light is very essential. We should also learn that a light source, if it is very strong, it creates hard shadows. If a light source is soft, then it creates soft shadows. It is up to us how we want to use it. The other point to note is that the smaller the source, the harder the shadows, and the bigger the source, the softer the shadows. We have to use this particular thing and understand it properly so that we can make better pictures. The bottom line is that the closer the source of light to the subject, the softer the shadows. The farther the light from the subject, the harder the shadows. Sun is the farthest that we have, and the shadows that it creates are the hardest ones. While we can have soft boxes, we even have clouds which make no shadows. Another aspect which has to be studied is the color temperature. Color temperature is like any other unit of measurement, but its impact is different as far as photography is concerned. For example, in the morning the light is orangish, at noon time the light is bluish, and again at the fall of the day the light is orangish or yellowish or even red. Now all this eye does not see, but the camera does because of the color temperature. Therefore, one has to know as to what color temperature is and what kind of impact one will get. The temperature of light during noon time is around 5500 degrees Kelvin. In the morning, when it is orangish or reddish, it is between 2700 to 3000 degrees Kelvin. Again, later half of the day, it goes down from 2700 to 3000 degrees Kelvin. At these moments, the light is orangish or red or even yellow. However, the point to note is that the light which is during noon time is known as cool light, and the light at the other times of the day, that is morning and evening, is known as warm light. Warm light has its own impact and cool light has its own impact. In order to create a balance between the light available and the desired effect, there are certain arrangements. For example, in the case of film cameras, we have type A film and type B film. Type A film is balanced for daylight, which means when the temperature is around 5500 degrees Kelvin, you will get a natural shot. While in the case of type B film, it is balanced for tungsten light. Therefore, when you are using tungsten light, this film will give the correct balance. But in order to use a particular film in a different environment, we have arrangements. For example, if it is a type A film and we have the orange light available to us, we can use filters to counter the orange light and get a picture of natural colors. Similarly, we have type B film which is meant for orange lighting or tungsten lighting, but if we use filters, we can get the natural effect. When we are using type A daylight film in daylight, it will give us natural tones. But the same film, if it is used in the tungsten light condition, it will give us orange tones, which is not acceptable. Therefore, to counter this, we use a blue filter. Similarly, when we are using type B film, which is meant for tungsten lighting, we have to use orange filter to bring it back to the natural colors. In the case of digital cameras, to counter the color balance problem, we use white balance. The sun, as we know, is a sign of brightness. It brings life, it brings health, it brings happiness to the man. Now, if we understand this, we can also use this particular aspect into the photography. For example, a picture taken in a bright sunny day is more appealing than the one which is taken during cloudy day. If we understand the importance of sunlight and the movement of sun in relation to photography, we will be able to capture images which are not only mind-boggling but also very interesting, and they also become an instrument of creativity. As we all know, the sun rises from east and sets in the west, and during this period it creates shadows and highlights. A photographer plays with these two aspects of light. He gets up early in the morning before dawn and goes to the point and gets ready to take pictures. He takes pictures before the sun rises during dawn period, and again when the sun is up he again takes pictures. The fact is that during all this time the light is changing, the intensity is changing, the quality is changing, the direction is also changing. This is what a cameraman has to play with, and at the end of the day it is quite likely that he will get pictures which are very attractive, which are very modern, and at the same time lifelong and for posterity. As I mentioned earlier also, it is said that the best time to take pictures is in the morning before 10 and in the afternoon after 2 p.m. But I feel that the time between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. can also be used. For me, any time is picture time. And my own guru, Mr. T. Kashinath, he was a master of contre-jour. He expertised in the light which was behind the subject. That is to say, the light coming from behind, which would keep the entire person in the dark, was utilized by him through his technology, through his technique, through his expertise, and he brought some very good pictures which were rim lighted, which were very expressive, and that is how he became one of the top photographers in the world. You should have the final result in your mind before you press the shutter release button. I would like to quote Ansel Adams as far as photography is concerned, and he says, "The final image is seen in the mind's eye before taking the photo toward the goal of achieving altogether the aesthetic, intellectual, spiritual and mechanical effects desired." Light is the medium for making pictures. Without light, there is no picture. We should study the direction, the intensity and quality of light and make the best use of it. The quality of light is most essential of all, because if the quality of light is poor, no amount of intensity or for that matter direction will make a good picture. To understand this, it is better that you take pictures, show them, get them acclaimed, and also see pictures of the senior photographers and how they use quality of light in their pictures.